Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Inspiring Entrepreneur series. And I am proud and honored and entertained also to be introducing you to Joanne Sweeney Burke. And I want to tell you that I've come across Joanne over the years because we're both lovers of marketing. But I always find you so inspiring, okay? And so practical. And I like this. And I love that. And I've read some of your stuff, and you always like to focus on 3 deliverables. And you just have this great story and great way to make things more accessible and easy for people to understand. Okay. Now, Joanne is a former broadcast journalist, PR lecturer, CEO, entrepreneur, author, and also quite famously a TEDx speaker. So I have to share with you, I've just been saying this to Joanne, that I was very, very moved by her TEDx talk, that I just sat with it, and it is worth watching. And hard, difficult story, but very inspiring story. And at the crux of that story is voice. And voice, as a brand lover, voice is so powerful and important. So, and on that note, I want to hand you over to Joanne, because I'd like to hear you speak about, I want to hear about your story. Some of it is TEDx. I'd like to hear your entrepreneurial story, because that is also extremely inspiring, because you're extremely prolific and you just go for it. You just keep your head down and you keep going, and you have this grit and determination. And I should stop waffling now, and I will let you speak.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your entrepreneurial series. Yeah. I am honored to be here and to hopefully reach a new audience. And so I feel very lucky. Thank you so much. Sometimes people say, oh, Joanne, you're inspiring. And I don't anymore discredit that comment, because if somebody says it, they mean it. Yes. And they mean it wholeheartedly. And I guess saying it after watching my TEDx talk, then I really should take it on board, because that was one of the most difficult things, believe it or not, that I have ever done, was deliver that TEDx talk. And I think you could tell that I was nervous and I was being vulnerable. And it's not something that I'm very good at, because, I'm always happy and smiling, and actually, it's the truth, and I wear my heart on my sleeve, but not very often I would go into the personal stuff so much. So yes, if you're going to watch my TEDx talk, which is my pinned tweet, you can also Google it. It's on my YouTube channel. It's called Up Speaking, Standing Up to Talking Down. And it's about how I found my voice eventually, after not finding it and not using it, and then discovering it. And it's interesting, because I've always been a storyteller, Finola. I mean, that's my trade, that's my craft. Starting off as a broadcast journalist, when I was 13, I wanted to be paid to tell stories. And so I wondered, what could I be? And then I said, oh, I'll be a journalist. And that's what started off my career. And I did become a journalist, and I worked in radio. And it was so empowering to sit behind a microphone and to have 60,000 people listen to me every day, who were tuning in, and it was news up in Donegal and Highland Radio. And I just felt a huge sense of something bigger than me. We know in life, as human beings, we need to have significance. And so that gave me the significance that I really never had.
Hold on, that's important, because we don't always know that we need significance. We don't know that.
Okay, right. Yeah, well, maybe it's a recent discovery for me.
Yeah, I think that's a powerful message.
Yeah, so
we have our own significance to bring.
Yeah, we do. And, in my world, my significance hangs off the fact that I'm a mother. So proud of having 2 amazing children, and grateful every single day. And I recently listened to a Tony Robbins YouTube video on my travels, and he talked about the blueprint in our lives. And he said, when we're young, we create this blueprint for ourselves. And sometimes we don't have happiness or contentment because we haven't fulfilled that blueprint. And I took a step back and I went, what was the blueprint I wanted? And I realized I wanted unconditional love, and I wanted to be fulfilled. And
when did you realize that?
January of this year.
Yeah, I love it.
I know.
And, as also a mother, I think deeply about this because we help shape the blueprint. You know,
For others, for our children?
Yes.
Absolutely. And my children will have a different blueprint than I had. Again, if you listen to the TEDx talk, and being a good mother was something very important to me, and I wanted to excel at it. I think I'm doing a good job. You need to ask Sophie and Bobby their opinion, but
you already are.
I am. And so then the significance and I get them from my work is being able to have my voice and to use it. And
can I interrupt you now? Because there's an interesting point when you go from broadcaster to entrepreneur. What is the tipping point or the piece that flipped you into that? Now, I know you have an apprentice kind of appearance of like a zillion years ago, but what was the point where you thought it's time now to be an entrepreneur?
I remember the moment. I remember I left journalism after 3 years when I didn't get a promotion, my own show, or to do an investigative documentary series. So when I couldn't go any further and I was hungry and ambitious to learn more and I couldn't get it, I left. Then I got a job as CEO in Letterkenny Chamber of Commerce and became CEO at 24.
Wow.
I'd managed to increase their membership by 200%. And basically I created the job for myself, you know. And then I was like, oh, business, sales, how did you do that? But it was by virtue of my good communication skills and engaging people and showing them the benefits. So then people then came to me and asked me to do like PR on the side. And so I needed a separate brand. And so my first PR brand was Red Communications in the early noughties, and got myself an accountant and all of that good stuff then. So I'd been dabbling in it, but I had the security of the job. And remember, at this stage, Sophie was 5 or 6 years old. So there was no way I was going to jump. It actually turned out to be 2008. So this is my 10th year anniversary of being in business.
Fabulous. Congratulations.
That I decided to make the jump. I left a 90 grand job. I felt the time was right. I felt I had the courage to do it. And that was the only thing that I can say was the tipping point. I wanted to do more, and I knew that being self-employed would allow me to do it. And so I jumped, and it was October 2008, and the timing was absolutely rubbish. Rubbish.
But I want to ask you this question, because I know there's this rubbish time, but the thing that always strikes me when I think about you is that there is this drive. There is this, it appears to me, there is this belief that you can do anything.
From me?
Yes.
I believe that hard work pays off. And I believe that my only obstacle is myself. And that I'm not afraid of a challenge, and I'm not afraid of hard work. And you mentioned The Apprentice. That's why I excelled. People got afraid of the tasks, and I was like rolling up my sleeves going, can we start now?
Yeah.
I guess that's because I was a forced entrepreneur as a teenage mother. So I was providing at 17 years of age for me and my daughter, by washing dishes, by going to school, by actually getting off the bus at 4:30, starting a job at 5 o'clock, working till 10, coming home, making bottles, doing homework. So I think that grit that I have stems from years ago, and now I kind of look at, you know, the circumstances that come along and the toughness that happens to all of us, and I go, well, I can do it. I've done something else worse than this before. So I hold my nerve very, very well. I'm good at holding my nerve and remaining calm.
Is that the thing? You say the hard work, and I completely agree, because it doesn't work without the hard work. There is no overnight success. There's an overnight success after that old 10,000 hours, you know. So it doesn't exist, and people think it's just going to arrive. That it is the big lesson that entrepreneurs face when they start. It is a roller coaster. It is hard work. But is there something else like hard work, big lesson, I think, from this conversation and any conversation about entrepreneurial success. But the belief and the lack of limits, like you've moved how you've positioned yourself several times throughout your career. Like, and I know it's storytelling is at the heart of it. So there's this solid heart in it. But I'm interested in what's the bit that you think, is it because it looks, yes, you've grit and nerve, but there seems to be this belief and you, or something. I can't quite put my...
Well, you're helping me tease it out as well. I don't have amazing self-confidence, believe it or not, but I think that's quite normal.
Yes.
That we judge ourselves, we have imposter syndrome, we think we're not good enough. I think perhaps it's more of a female thing than a male thing. That's just my own personal opinion.
I would agree.
And but I think I'm a bit of a visionary, and for me, in that I always see the end goal.
Yes.
And I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I've realized I don't need to know the how to. It will figure itself out.
Okay.
And I think that gives me a sense of faith.
Say that sentence again for everybody, because this is so important. Please. Vision.
So I see the vision, I see the goal at the end of the road. I can see the road. I know it's long and I know there are going to be hurdles, but I don't think about that. I trust that the how to, so how I'm going to get there, I'll figure it out along the way. And then I just go and I go with it. And I take basically one step at a time. If you saw my Snapchat during my first half marathon last March 2017, and I came last, I was Snapchatting every mile because I took 1 mile at a time and I had the run of my life. It was amazing. So coming last was kind of irrelevant, a bit embarrassing at the beginning, but now it's a great story. And
it's just your perspective. You are the first at the other end.
I was running the longest. I was like running for 3 hours. That's a huge achievement.
Yeah. Well done. Bravo. So, because it's something I talk about to clients a lot and about the entrepreneurial journey, because if you don't hold that vision strong in your mind, you will waver. And meandering makes that roller coaster ride longer. Is there something that you do that keeps the vision in your mind? And I kind of find it interesting because before we started officially recording this, you said, you know what my vision is? So
I did.
Yes, you did. So this is clearly your message, okay? So is there tips that you can share with entrepreneurs to keep that firmly in their minds?
Well, you have to be able to visualize what that vision is. And for me, I write a lot, so I always have a notebook and a pen. I have Evernote on my phone, and which syncs with my laptop, and I'm constantly writing down the mini goals that will help me to get to the big goal. Okay. A common phrase is you can't eat an elephant in one go. You break it down. I'm a huge believer in those small tasks because I'll suffer overwhelm as well. But I break down the tasks. I'm really good at prioritizing in every aspect of my life, and I don't let distractions get in the way. They have no room. We all have the same number of hours in the day, and we have to be single-mindedly focused, but at the same time have an open mind to when things are going wrong or when somebody wants to give you advice. And don't mistake an advice for somebody pulling at your grit and pulling you down. You know, you can't let that happen.
Explain.
Well, lots of people will have opinions, and you know, now in the world of social media, everybody has an opinion. You listen to your gut to understand what are the opinions that you should take on board. I will ask for advice and opinions and I'll gather them up, but ultimately I listen to my gut and weigh up the context of your own situation and make a decision. And if it's wrong, it was my decision, but I won't be taken down a road where, you know, somebody has no business taking me down. It's only an opinion at the end of the day.
I think it's that hard lesson that we learn. It's to know when is the time to listen to advice and when is the time to stay focused. And it is because when you start in business, you can start to self-doubt a lot at the start, and to actually build up the trust in yourself that your gut is right is a big thing. So, and for me also, that is my check. Does it sit with me? Does it feel right? And I don't get so concerned with, everyone has an agenda. It can be a positive agenda, it can be a negative agenda, but it's irrelevant in your story. It just means, does this fit? That's, for me, that's how I do it. Same thing, but
yeah, and you know, it's okay to say no to somebody, and I've had to learn that too. And I would always tend to, I've got to do this for this person because it's easier to do it than to say no, or to just not take their advice, or whatever it is. But that takes practice, and I'm still practicing it. And yeah, your gut is your second brain.
yes.
You know, who knew? Well, I found out again recently, all these new discoveries I'm making. But it's your second brain, and it's there for a reason. And if we ask ourselves in any aspect of our life, when has our gut been wrong? Or when do we have regrets when we didn't listen to our gut? You know?
Tell me about, the other interesting thing about you, Joanne, is that you always remain constant in the storytelling and voice area. Now you've just moved into a new area for social media training, which is in public sector, so you moved from what we would see as the normal marketplace for social and digital, which is with entrepreneurs and business. And you've just done a...
So glad you've noticed.
But it's really, like, I also inspired by this because it's so needed, you know, and it's carving out a new territory for you. But tell everybody what you're doing, because it's really interesting.
So yeah, I am in the process of launching Public Sector Marketing Pros. So it's an online hub, but it's going to be launched with an event on June 14th in Dublin's Mansion House, starting as to go on to wow people.
Yes.
And yeah, basically it's digital marketing and digital communications for public sector marketers and communications professionals. So
and
you will why is because you've already said it, they absolutely need it. And you know, they would also admit that fact. I mean, it's for us as entrepreneurs, you know, we go straight into it. They have so many limitations, and for 8 years there were limitations on employing people, investing in people, you know, recruiting new people, and developing systems, because we had the recession and the public sector pay bill and the associated bills had to go down. The other thing is that because I've always worked alongside in my career with the public sector, so as a journalist, you know, I reported on local government, on criminal cases, worked closely with Garda Síochána, then working in the Chamber of Commerce. Obviously, I was lobbying local government and national government on a range of issues. And then in my own entrepreneurial world, I had them as clients. 3 years ago, I wrote a book on how police officers and law enforcement agencies use social media. And so that was kind of my first foray into saying, well, you know what, I am a bit of an expert in this. I have knowledge in this niche area. And I realized, I guess, after a year and a half, that going exclusively into the world of policing and digital was too niche, because they're still so far behind, and only a small group of people within a force have responsibility. So it got me thinking last year about broadening that niche into the public sector. And so it's been on my mind for 3 years, but incessantly, I guess, for about 18 months. And now you will see it coming to light online. Yeah.
So tell us where people can find out more about you. And I want you to leave everybody with 3 pieces of advice as a fellow entrepreneur. Something that, like, lessons learned for you, or if you had your time over again, or you had Sophie beside you starting out her own business, what would you say to her?
So you can find me anywhere. Just type in Joanne Sweeney Burke into Google search, and connect with me on LinkedIn and Google, or LinkedIn and Twitter, and I'm on Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram, and my website is digitaltraining.ie. Any public sector marketers out there, you can find me at publicsectormarketingpros.com. So 3 tips, because you know I love the power of 3.
Absolutely.
number one has to be ask for help. One of my weaknesses is reaching out and asking for help. And in business, it's really tough. It can be really lonely. And vulnerability, as Brené Brown says, is a complete strength. So I'm practicing my vulnerability. So don't be alone. And once you speak, you can be guaranteed there'll be a flock of women and men around you going, so glad you said that, because I feel the same way.
Wonderful.
Number two, I would say, is get stuck on your vision. Where do you want to be in, I find it hard to do the long-term visions. I struggle with that, but even 12 months, 24 months, and have a roadmap for yourself. Just mark out key milestones. Don't worry about the how to. Again, ask for help, because we know in all the networks that we're in, Finola, once you ask, people will respond. We're very generous with our time.
Absolutely.
And then three, I would say constantly learn. Every day is a school day for me, and I'm not finished learning. And the more I learn, the more I become better. But don't make the mistake of over-consuming at the risk of under-producing, because we need to produce to make money, and we're here to make money.
Wonderful. I love it. Let us leave on that note, and thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye, Joanne.